The Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, October 25th is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, please take the roll.
Commissioner Blanova.
I'm here.
Commissioner Creech.
Present.
Commissioner Dorvan's absent with prior notice. Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Kalis.
Here.
Commissioner Powers is here, and Chairman Rafato.
Here. Brooke, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I wanted to note that item C under items for review, the car wash at 966 South Milwaukee Avenue will be continued without discussion this evening. The petitioner has asked that it be continued to November 8th. So when we come to that point in the agenda this evening, we will take a motion to continue to November 8th.
How come we didn't know that before we all made an attempt to come here tonight?
The agenda is posted on the website.
So you're supposed to check it, what, every hour, make sure you catch it when it changes?
No, that's where we post them, sir.
Okay. November 8th?
Yes, sir.
What do we do, call it? Consent, citizen concerns and comments. We have none? There you go, Brooke. Consent items, docket number SCBA 18-47, McDonald's 1355 Lake Cook Road, appearance approval of wall signs. As Brooke is going through them. If you recall, they came before us for changes. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis.
Yes.
And Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Thank you. Items for review. Docket number 2018-25 Tracy, Bistro, 18 West Dundee Road, special use site plan approval of a sit-down restaurant. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2018-25 Silverhawk Restaurant Group LLC. Lessee is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-06 Commercial Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections in order to establish a sit-down restaurant at 18 West Dundee Road, which is Zone B3, General Commercial and Office District. Standards for a special use. A zoning special use as defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning is a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why the request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Brooke, are there any comments?
I would just like to note that the staff report and submittals of the petitioner are part of the public record.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Yes, sir. Please come forward. Will you be the only one speaking on this matter tonight?
Yes, I will.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And would you state your name and business address?
My name is Tim Axeritis. I'm at 2123 Feldot.
Thank you. So the floor is yours to explain what you're going to be doing.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for having me here. Again, my name is Tim Axeritis. I'm the owner of several locations, around 19, Tracy's Cafes, TW Cafes, and Sophia's Restaurants. We've come to Wheeling to build our location. I think we're a unique place. We've done everything right. I started this business in 2012 when this whole cafe gaming thing was coming up. In 2013, we opened our first location with Mayor Savarino in Carroll Stream, which is phenomenal. We've done the right things. We've been a great community partners with Carroll Stream, with all my locations, from Winthrop Harbor to Wadsworth to Round Lake Beach to Lake Zurich. So we've been always content of doing the right thing. Our locations are upscale. We have done numerous focus groups of what we need to do. We make sure that our establishments are clean, and not just our establishment, the entire mall. We've dedicated ourselves to making sure that the landscaping is clean, everything's done. The mall at where we're going now, we've done a good job of showing our plans how this all is going to improve, not just financially for the community, but for us as well, for the landlord as well too, of having no empty spaces. Our spaces have been, maybe I'm biased, but I think we're good as anybody else out there. We have been great operators. If you look at our numbers of the things that we've done, we've been totally standard of what we have done, everything we communicated to the board, everything we talked about to the village, everything we showed, we've committed to it, and we've done that specific build-outs. I'm excited. I really am. I think we've done a great job proving who we are. We worked hard at it, and that's all I know is the restaurant business. I'm Greek, so that's what I grew up in. With the gaming industry that's been here since 2012, we've took it up a notch. That helps us pay our bills. It is what it is. It's something that we're excited about too, that if we do it right, everybody benefits, not just the community. With us too, we do a lot of community service. We donate a lot. We do things that help the community as the community helps us. We look forward, and we're excited to be here. And I think you guys should approve us. But.
So could you go through, what we'd like to hear is a description of your floor plan, basic things like number of employees, hours of operation, if you could go through those.
Absolutely.
So not only for the benefit of us, but also for someone that might be watching this to understand what you're bringing into the community. Absolutely.
One thing we do, we try to hire locally, not just construction-wise. Through anything that we could, we'd like to hire everybody from Wheeling. We've started at that since my first location, and it kind of helps us through building it. Our location right now will employ around 6-7 employees. We'll have, what it works out to is about 2 to 3 full-timers and a lot of part-timers. Our average age of our employees are around between 45 and 65. I mean, that's who we believe that, for us, is customer service, and that's what we found out. With our seating capacity, like I said before, our locations are upscale. We use a lot of brick. Our floors are wooden. Modern lighting, so it looks absolutely stunning. Again, I'm biased, but that's the way our stores are built. We're seating capacity around 14. We don't have a bar. That's what we're not. We do serve alcohol. We do serve spirits. But again, we have a maximum of 3 drinks. And here's the reason. It's like going to a Sox or a Cubs game. I don't want somebody drunk and ruin that experience. And that's what it is. It's an experience going to Tracy's. We found out that pound for pound, we might not be the biggest out there, but we are one of the best operators. Our numbers have proven that. The community support that we have in all our other communities is just tremendous. And that's the reason, because we do things the right way. And I believe that. So going back to your question is, we will have standards and infrastructures in place with our menu, with our drinks, with our different kind of wines. And again, it's all about us as service. When you come in our locations, you're able to have a cappuccino, a wine, or a spirit drink. You can sit down, use our free Wi-Fi. So we're more than just a restaurant or a gaming cafe. We're more of a, I want to say, an upscale Starbucks. You know, as Starbucks is moving into the liquor business, it's the same thing that we've done, is we're moving to the coffee business. You know.
Great, okay. Anything else?
You know, like I said before, we're excited. We've done everything the right way. We want to be part of this community. We've waited a long time. And I think we'll be great, you know, for each other. So I look for, you know, any questions I could answer, anything we could do. And I can't emphasize enough, one thing about Tracy's, about my company, we'll never embarrass the mayor, the community, or Wheeling at all. We always do the right thing. And, you know, that's all I could say. That's all I could do. So we're excited. And
Thank you. This is a public hearing. If you notice, this is Tracy's, but he's talking about the car wash.
Right, yeah.
So it's just, is there a Mr. Fuller here? D. Fuller? D. Fuller? I'm sorry. Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
this person, hi there. I'm sorry, could you please come forward here? I'm sorry. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, and if you could state your name and address?
Diane Fuller, 127 North Wolf Road.
Great, thank you. And if you could move the microphone and speak.
I would like to know how many gaming, or what type of gaming is going to be there?
absolutely.
Sure. We can answer that once
Okay.
you're done with all your
All
questions.
right, and I would like to know, my concern is that there's schools nearby, there's a lot of walkers that go by, parks on both sides, the kids should be watched by their parents. Being only 14 people can go in there, I don't know the hours of operation yet. And who's going to govern the taxes or the money that this produces? There's so many gaming places in Wheeling already. This discourages me.
Okay, thank you. So why don't you come forward and address what I heard is,
Absolutely.
what type of gaming do you have?
So first thing, we're allowed, as a state, we're allowed 5 VGTs.
Right. It's 5 what?
Video gaming terminals.
Thank you.
So the 5 video gaming terminals are slot machines or video poker. You wager between 1 penny or $2 at maximum. Our hours of operations are between 8, it's what our liquor license entitles us. If it's 8 to 1 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and I'm not sure what the weekends are, but that's our operating hours. To govern our taxes, the Illinois Gaming Board governs that pretty well, you know, so we have nothing to do with taxes or anything. We pay our taxes and, you know, got to pay the man, so we do. And that's governed by the Gaming Board, by the state, and everybody else. With governing ourselves, with children walking by or anything like that, our establishment is 21 years and older. We have a lot of, one thing that Tracy's does, my company does, we started from the beginning. I have kids, so I understand their concerns, and we address those concerns from day one. One thing we do, we spend a lot of money on training. We have apps in our stores that when people walk in, the first thing you do, they could be 50 or 60 years old, we don't really care. We card everybody. We have apps that you take your license, we slide it. No license, can't come in. So we're very careful, that's one thing we've never done, is let anybody in our establishment that's not legal in the way of drinking, playing, or anything else like that. So we really, really govern that really well, as the town does. You know, other communities bring out stings. You know, they do a different thing. So we're very aware of it. And people walking by, they can't see our video games. We have, it's a separate room. It's in the same location, but when you walk in, or even if anybody walks in,
Well, that's the floor plan right up there?
correct. So you see a half wall where it's built. So the windows, we have blinds anyways, but it's really nice. The windows are most open. But that half wall right there covers our machines. You know, to come in our location, if you walk in, you're still not able to see it. That covers pretty much when you walk in through that. So I understand everybody, you know, their concerns, and, you know, that's my concern when we started this business in 2012. And I think we've addressed it pretty well for the last 5 years, and we have done everything the correct way.
Great, thank you. So we'll now have the commission start with Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Well, as stated, we have many places in town already, so just at a top-level view, what makes Tracy's different than all of these others? We actually have 16 different establishments in town.
Correct, and I understand that too, and I can't say that, you know, we're that different, you know, like from you guys from Laredo or Stella's of the world, and we're not trying to hide anything of saying, hey, here's who we are, we're the best. I can tell you the mix is different, is our community that our customer service makes us the biggest difference. We all have 4 walls, our decorations might be different, we all have the 5 games. I think we have better food, you know, I think we have more to offer, but what makes us different is our customer service. And I truly believe that, and that's why we've been successful. You know, my store's in the top 15 in the state. That's not just by luck, and they're not great locations. They're people who really trust us, that feel like it's somewhere that they could have a quick meal or nice coffees, play a little games, and feel safe around it. But again, Mr. Johnson, it's not to, you know, we're like everyone else, but better.
Okay. It appears that all the food is microwaved because all I see in the kitchen on this layout is a microwave.
Correct, it is microwaved, but it's not a real microwave, it's more of a convention oven like everybody else has, but we have more to offer. A lot of people just offer hot dogs or small things. We offer, you know, personalized pizzas. So we offer a few more things than everybody else does.
I see like French fries and things like that. But
Correct.
that's just in a convection oven?
But they're good French fries.
Now, the staff report indicates that due to the parking constraints, you have to limit your seating to 14.
Correct.
There's 15 on this layout, and there's 25 on the package that you guys handed out.
Yes, we changed it all. I didn't have time to change it in the packet. I worked with Brooke, sent her the revisions. We will have 14 seats. We don't think parking will be an issue, but we have no issue of, you know, dropping off one more seat.
That's all I have right now.
Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I checked some of your reviews on the business, and some people saying that it's unfortunate that you have a game in there because the place is so good. It's that gaming is the downside of that concept. Any comments on that?
You know, we've done everything. When we opened up Tracy's and Carroll Stream and opened a few other locations, we were a full-blown out restaurant, and we've done phenomenal. In 2012, when gaming came in, the whole landscape changed. Landscapes also changed when we were with Krispy Kreme and all these new fads came out, things have dropped. So the community in 2008, the restaurant business was really hurting. A lot of my stores that we were looking at, we weren't gonna open any restaurants. Krispy Kreme has closed down. I used to run Hula Hands restaurants. When gaming came in, that was our savior. That helped us survive, to be honest with you. So I understand what other people say. We still have food in there, but our financial thing is without gaming, a lot of these restaurants and a lot of these bars and a lot of these would not survive through it. It's not just this community, it's every other community the same way. So when we have the games, I know what they're saying, but you know, you can't make everybody happy. You know, we do the best we can and we do everything the right way. So I understand what they're saying, but that's, you know, that's the landscape of the world right now, especially out here in Illinois, is it's been a savior for us. And it's helped the community too. You know, we've 50 to 60,000 annually goes to the town. You know, not including the labor that we hire, the taxes that we pay. You know, so it's a win-win for everybody. And we don't out there, and we're not sitting there telling you come in, don't play a game. You just sit on use our Wi-Fi, read a paper, magazines, have a cappuccino, we have no issue with that. But I understand what you're saying, it's just, that's what it is right now.
And you comfortable that within a mile, there are two more places?
I am comfortable, and here's the reason why. You could say you have a lot of places here. There's not enough, we're talking about video gaming, but there's not enough places like ours that you can come in and not just play and have a great time, have a nice glass of wine, and play whatever amount you want. There's not enough machines for how many people want to play. So it's, every town right now is open to gaming. There's towns that are now closing their borders, of saying, hey, we think we have enough, which, if we felt Wheeling was one of them, but we believe Wheeling is not. I think we have an opportunity to do things, especially with a good operator. Some people can't, even if they open up in Wheeling, then we're not going to make it. We're going to make it because we know what we're doing, and if we do things right. We don't just come here and say we're gaming, whatever it is, and, percentages are this and that. We do things part of a precision plan of saying, here's how we market it, here's how we do it, and we're proud of the service that we give. We're proud of our coffees, even our small menus, our French fries, they're darn good. Our little pizzas are darn good. People come in there to relax with kids. My wife, she'll come in there and says, I got to get away. We'll sit there for an hour and a half. She might play for 20 minutes, but that other hour, she's reading a magazine, being on Wi-Fi, and having a good time. So that's who we are.
Got it. Makes sense. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You did specify hours of operation. I didn't see in the packet, do we need to make a condition or anything that the hours of operation will coincide with the liquor license at all? Or that's just a basic given? That's all I wanted to ask about that.
If you want to, you can. I mean, there's nothing against doing that, and that would set it and make sure it was complied with.
Oh, okay, so I'm just throwing
We
that.
also, speaking of conditions, we want to add a condition for, tied to the liquor license.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that this would be contingent on receiving the liquor license approval.
Right? Sorry.
I assume that, no, that's fine. The trash enclosure, I assume, is you're using the common one for the shopping center. Other than that, I really don't have anything else.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you for presenting. Appreciate your high standards, modern design, local hiring. That's, if possible, that's awesome. Giving to charity in the community, I can appreciate, obviously, so I appreciate your high level standards, so thank you for that. You have 14 locations?
Right now, we have 15 up and running, and we're under a construction of 7 of them.
Great, okay.
So-
I appreciate that track record, too. It means you're doing something right. Do all of them have gaming?
They all have gaming.
Okay.
That's one thing.
Is this an actual picture of your?
There is, that is.
Before games, though?
Yes.
Okay, got it. I just was curious if there was a location without gaming, why? But I don't have a problem with, the competition thing. I was going to ask, how are you different than Stella's, but you addressed that. I think the free enterprise system has a way of, working out competition. So I believe what you say, that you're good at what you do, and if this goes through, then you'll have to, you and Stella's can do good, but it's good to have options. So 14 seats I was going to ask you about. How do you, and you said the 3-drink limit?
Yes.
How do you enforce that?
So here's what we do. We have, each of our employees are trained that they keep a tab of each. So that person comes in there, we have their name, get their license, put it in our computer, so they know that this is what they have. Now, we hit that 3 mark limit. If they're drinking 3 in an hour, it might be 2, something less. But that's we try to police it that way. We keep marks on that. And we don't have, just so we understand too, people really don't go out and pound at my locations. They're having 1 drink, maybe 2, just sit there with the wines. A lot of things we have a group of, women that come in there and just enjoy wine. But we do really keep an eye on what alcohol we do sell.
Okay, and that's a personal standard? That's not a law?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my standard across my board.
great.
You
I
know,
was
so
curious
I
about
just
that.
believe in that.
And do they know that? Is that stated, or like your patrons
And we
that
have
come
a
in?
handbook,
But your patrons don't read the handbook, obviously.
correct, but I think that's a great question.
I'm just curious if I were to go in and ask for a fourth, and
So
then,
here's how we handle it. And again, we have not, we've been maybe in that situation a couple times. We've trained our employees that here's our standard, here's what it is. When they get there after the third drink, they come for the fourth drink. And don't get me wrong, if they sat there for 8 hours, they might have a fourth drink. You know what I'm saying? That's something that we give them the power to understand what the time limit is. But if they have that 3 pretty quickly, we stop them and say, this is what it is. And the way we've trained them is blame it on us. Give them my cell number personally. I'll talk to them. But everybody's been good about saying, hey, you know what, I'm just doing my job. I make $11 an hour. I'm just, so.
gotcha, okay,
People understand
that's
that.
fair. I was just curious, because you said that, I didn't hear that before, so. Dress the full kitchen. So with the sign, the lawyer sign that's gonna come down, we've had problems where sometimes behind it, the sign, it needs work up there. Do we need to address that right now? Like if they take down that sign and it needs to be repaired,
This
is
is
that?
just a special use.
Okay, so that's not yet, okay. Then I'm good, then I'm good with that, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions. Pretty much all of them have been answered, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Very professional.
Thank you again.
So, just to, couple of things. One, we need to be specific here. What we have, this drawing here shows 15 seats. So, though this presentation is very nice, this isn't going anywhere because it's got the wrong
Correct.
information in it. So, nice presentation. So how are we going to address, are we making one of these 2 tables, 1 table? So we know what is going to be, because this shows 15 seats, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
25.
No, the one up
Oh,
on.
not in here, okay, in here, got it.
This
4,
shows 15.
shows 15. We got to move down to 14.
I think it's up to them, however they want
Yeah.
to arrange the seats.
I think as
So-
long as there's a condition that says the maximum 14 seats, they can arrange their seating however they want. We don't usually dictate that close of seating.
Right.
Of like how many, the tables.
The board's going to ask that question probably.
And we will definitely change it to 14. The way we're going to change to 14 is we're just going to pull a smaller table, a bigger table to a smaller table.
Okay.
Take the seating out, but it will be addressed and the presentation will be where it should be. And I sincerely apologize for personally not catching it. And
Then the other question is, of course, you have an establishment that is prone to having smokers in it. So where is your smoking area going to be designated? Because it's got to be 15 feet from an entrance, but you have, a bakery on one side, I don't recall what was on the other side.
beauty
But you
shop.
also have, beauty shop, but you also have a Subway down there, and so it's got to be 15 feet from any entrance. So what's your proposal?
well, 2 things that we looked at too, because we kind of looked at the whole thing, trying to figure out what is the best option. I'm not a smoker, so if a person smokes, it's hard for me to say, hey, you know what, we're going to go out there, so you can't smoke in front of our building, you need to go across, or you need to go in the back somewhere. That's all we could do. There's no dedicated area in that space. I don't know if I could tell somebody to say, hey, you know what, I could tell them they can't smoke in front of our building or around the building, but it's hard for me to tell somebody, don't smoke. But we will address it.
That's not my expectation, but don't we have to have a designated area?
In the past, we have addressed this by designating an area somewhere on the site where it would be at least 10 feet from any door of any unit. And I think we'd like to designate that area
Yes.
with a smoker, with a receptacle.
And we will.
Smoking receptacle?
Correct. If that's the case too. So we have a receptacle too that we're going to put in the back. But that's a long walk. So we're going to have 2 receptacles that we're looking at. We're working with the landlord, Nick, to make sure that whatever he decides that makes sense. I don't want to put something in front of somebody.
Well, okay. So we can add a condition, but we need to ensure that we have it worded that that area is designated before any permitting.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Ron, any comments or anything?
Now, this is from a construction and fire prevention standpoint, relatively simple occupancy. There's no hood and duck for the kitchen because they're not cooking anything like that. The seating plan, whether it's the 14 or 15, addresses the occupancy issues, and there's really no significant changes to the parking lot for access, and it would be consistent with the typical strip mall type occupancy.
Great. All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? So do I hear a motion?
Let's
Oh,
go
I'm
to the
sorry.
conditions.
I was going to say that. Read the conditions.
Okay. Number 1, the seating capacity shall not exceed a total of 14 seats. 2, the hours of operation shall be consistent with liquor licensing. 3, gaming shall be contingent upon approval of a Class NV liquor license. And 4, an outdoor smoking area with a receptacle shall be designated prior to occupancy.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion on 2018-15 Tracy's Bistro?
So moved.
Second.
Who was that? Was that?
Kalis.
Kalis, Commissioner Kalis, second by Commissioner Blanova. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Kalis,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
No. Passes 4-2. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Motion to close.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You'll have something to sign.
Pardon me?
You'll have something to sign.
Okay.
It shows what the conditions are. You can take that copy with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. You still have to go before we're just a recommending board, so you still have to go before the plan commission. I mean, the village board. And if you could just stay up here.
No. That was just a notice. Yeah. Let's just make it, I don't remember.
Here you go. If you can sign both of those, same spot in each one of them. Right there. And you can keep that one that you have in your hand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Calling docket number 2018-26, Mini Donut Factory, 1067 Lake Cook Road, special use site plan approval of a sit-down restaurant. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2018-26, Mini Donut Factory contract lessee is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-06 Commercial Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements, and associated sections in order to establish a sit-down restaurant at 1067 Lake Cook Road, which is Zone B2 Neighborhood Commercial District. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Brooke, anything to add?
Yes, that the submittals of the petitioner and the staff reports are part of the public record.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Good evening. Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
And if you could state your name and business address.
Yep. My name is Jay Presser, and I'm here on behalf, actually, of the petitioner who's out of the country, although my name is on the application. I'm here on behalf of Mini Donut Factory, but the actual petitioner, Simon Popkoff, the president, is out of the country.
Okay. Would have been helpful if he was here. So I can take your name off of there. So the floor is yours to explain what you want to do with this site.
Sure. Mini Donut Factory currently operates 3 locations in and around the Chicagoland area, the Gurney Mills Mall, Chicago Ridge Mall, and Harlem Irving Plaza Mall. So we are one of those like Aunt Anne's Pretzels, kind of places. We're usually not near a food court. And just like the name sounds, we make little mini donuts with the toppings. So cinnamon sugar, and in the mall locations, that's pretty much all we do. A couple of the mall locations have smoothies and things like that, but in the mall locations, we don't sell coffee. We don't even sell soft drinks, and really we only sell water. This location specifically is going to do something a little bit different. It will still do the mini donuts, but we plan on selling non-branded coffee, soft drinks, water, and smoothies, slushies, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 different flavors. Banana, strawberry, that kind of thing. There will be some seating here, which of course is something we also don't have in any of the mall locations. The maximum 15, we don't anticipate people sitting there for very long. We anticipate people coming in and getting some donuts and leaving, picking up a couple dozen mini donuts for a kid's birthday party and leaving. But there will be seating for up to 15 people here. And that's it. It's an existing space. We're putting in a pretty simple counter. If you can conceptualize what it would be like walking into a Subway, it's very similar in that there'll be kind of a long counter. You order your donuts in one spot. They're made in oil while you stand there and wait, and then you just pay on the other side, and then you take them out. Sorry, it's not much more complicated than that. Everybody loves donuts. Do I really need to say anything more persuasive? Everybody loves donuts.
No,
Obviously, if you have
I've already
questions,
told my grandchildren about this, so.
Bring your grandchildren.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this matter?
I actually wrote my name down.
I know you did.
There, because I wasn't sure if I was supposed
That's
to.
fine, no problem. So we'll start with Commissioner Creech.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman. It seems pretty simple, like you said, so.
I will tell you, even though you're not asking a question, I will also say, at the mall locations, we have, under the machine, it is a movable machine, although it's locked down, there's venting system underneath. In an effort to be conscious of not having any type of really aromas or things, because there's neighbors behind, this is the first location. It's actually quite a more substantial expense. We are actually putting a hooded venting, so it'll be much more substantial in terms of venting, in making sure that there's no odors or things like that. But once again, it smells like donuts. How bad?
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, and as long as it doesn't smell like fire, that'd be great. So Ron, you know about the hood and you're good with everything there?
Yep.
Okay. And then you didn't mention, but I assume dry storage requirement of 25% of the minimum floor space, that's been taken care of?
Yeah, so these are, we just saw these, between that and the grease trap, the interceptor, we already planned it. It's not a problem. I actually texted the guy who's about 8 hours ahead. I'm like, just make sure, here's what the grease trap is, but it's not going to be a problem, and the dry storage is not a problem.
Okay. Other than that, pretty straightforward. No questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Powers.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Blanova.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
And I have nothing.
What if I said we were going to put some gaming terminals on there? Would somebody have a question?
Then we'd be talking.
That would really throw this for a loop. So when you make the donuts, are they visible?
Yeah, and that's the process. That's kind of the
Right.
fun. So it takes about 40 seconds to a minute, so you watch them drop the little things in the oil, and they kind of go through, and they go through, so they're hot right out of it, and then you tell them what toppings you want on there. There's ice cream. So ice cream is being sold as a topping, but it's like a 1 ounce scoop. So that's an ancillary product. Like I said, the coffee is it's available because we felt we couldn't not have it, but it doesn't conflict with Starbucks, which is in that Starbucks a lot of, doesn't conflict with their lease and all, with their, because you're allowed to have non-branded coffee, which is what we're going to have. But yes, you get to watch it.
So it sounds like that you're in malls, correct?
Right.
And this is your first standalone restaurant, if you will. Why the change? Why this? Because this is a new concept, I assume, for you, this business.
There are 2 wildly successful ones in Florida. And
That this gentleman owns?
They're not, I was just going to say, they're not affiliated with this gentleman, but They have a very similar name, they spell it differently, which has created, I can tell you, a little bit of a conflict. But we've been discussing with these folks and listening to their concept, they're just hitting it out of the ballpark. And with the foot traffic diminishing in malls, down between 13 and 20% over the past year or two, we'll always be okay in the malls. Obviously, we prefer as much traffic as possible. But we want to do this outside concept because we are instituting our first ever franchisees. So we're simultaneously, we just finished a lease for our first ever franchisee in San Diego. So the idea is, we think that's going to be the greater franchise concept. People could have them in a mall or outside, but yes, this is the first outside location, and we think, given the cost of entry, we kind of know and understand, we believe we understand the market in terms of the children, the demographics in this area, whether it's birthday parties, schools, corporate things. We feel hitting the numbers that we need to feel will be pretty easy.
And do they do like buckets? Like, there's actually one of the farmers markets that we go to. There's a stand there that they have.
The Buffalo Grove
little-
Farmers Market?
Right,
There's like a-
yeah. Yeah, it's got-
With respect, we're better.
No, I understand. Oh, no, I understand that. I'm not, there's no comparison there, though they do sell buckets of them.
No, the largest box that we'll have will be a 2 dozen box, and it's a flat box.
Okay.
Mostly because of what we do is you line them up so you can put one topping on these four, one topping on these four, one topping on these. The ice cream obviously can't go out
Right.
like that. But that's, so people can get a mixed box, they can get them all one. So 24, they're not on top of each other, they're not in buckets. Most people will buy, we anticipate the dozen or the 2 dozen, because really a dozen of the mini donuts, it's basically like eating 2 donuts. It's like going to, what's that other place, the Dunkin', I can't even think of their name. But it's like going to that place, getting coffee and 2 donuts. That's about the equivalent in terms of food capacity. So 2 dozen would be, 4 to 5 donuts worth of dough.
Okay.
Perfect for the grandkids.
Yeah, exactly. And what were your hours of operation?
We put down 6:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night. I've got to be honest with you, I think the 8:30 at night's probably going to be a little bit later, but for purposes of approval, we figured on the off chance people are coming in, we don't really anticipate that.
Okay, great.
I will also say, Mr. Popkoff and his family, they're Wheeling residents, longtime Wheeling residents. I think the entire 12 or 14 years that he's been in Chicago. He's got 2 young children that live there. So again, I'm about a mile away in Buffalo Grove, but he's a local business person, and as far as I know, plans to stay in Wheeling.
Okay,
Or I should say a local business person, but a local resident,
thank you.
taxpayer.
Engineering, fire, anything? Okay, great. Thank you. So do I hear a motion? Do we have any?
One condition.
One condition?
It is the dry storage and grease basin requirements listed in the health officer's review memo dated October 17th, 2018, shall be addressed on the permit plan submittal.
Thank you. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Kalis. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Can't say no to a donut, yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato?
Yes. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You'll have something to sign.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
When do they anticipate opening?
When can we get some?
Just after the first of the year, we tried to rush to get before Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's just not going to happen.
Good luck.
Is he going to cater? Like for birthday parties and such?
It's very funny because he's never done that before, but I've had parties, I have 3 girls, and we've had parties, and even when I knew this guy, he didn't go remotely, but those, you could charge $1,000 for a party, for about a 4-hour party, and the cost of that, you do have to have the movable machine. We're absolutely talking about doing that. It'll be the first time ever, because you could earn thousands of dollars a month just with that if you did nothing else. Birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, quinceañeras, all that stuff. I think it's kind of a no-brainer.
38th birthday party.
What's that?
38th birthday party.
Hypothetically, 50th coming up, I'm not saying who.
You just have to sign right there and there. Thank you.
In red wine.
Why not?
The village board meetings? No, I'm just saying.
You're gonna bring samples.
Charity events. You're right.
Here.
Thank you. Oh, here, sir.
Mr. Presser. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay. So I have to make this motion, right, to
Yes.
continue to November 8th?
Yes.
Okay. Docket number 2018-23, H2O Express Car Wash. We're looking for a motion to continue without discussion to the meeting of November 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Creech. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Okay. Calling docket number 2018-24A and B, continued from October 11, 2018 hearing, Auto Car Imports, 170 Shepard Avenue, 2018-24A, zoning variation to reduce required parking, 2018-24B, special use site plan approval for light motor vehicle repair facility. Brooke?
Yes, the staff report and submittals of the petitioner are part of the public record.
Thank you. Petitioners, please come forward. You have been sworn in, so there's no need to swear you in. I assume you've seen the staff review. So if you can explain from our October 11th meeting what changes have been made?
No changes have, well, I'm sorry. Everything was put onto one, obviously. And we added the two existing parking on the front, the southeast, and then the two on the east side.
And the square footage was, this is your drawing, and Brooke, the square footage of all of the areas was calculated that you have in the here, auto repair, warehouse, vehicle storage, and office, and it came up still with a variation of 30?
32.
I believe it's 32.
32, I'm sorry, 32. So, okay, any more comments about that?
No.
No. Okay. So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? No, thank you. Commissioner Powers.
As far as the east side diagonal parking, did you guys remove that?
We went to parallel parking because I believe it was kind of,
So that was towards the northeast corner. Is that, I thought that's where, so are you showing parallel parking space, two parallel parking spaces there?
there's yes, parallel parking spaces there.
Is that between the two lift, the two lift doors? Where, can you show me what where that is?
It's right here.
Okay, so there was four diagonal and now you're saying that's two parallel parking spaces?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we were recommended to do versus the diagonal,
Okay.
versus the diagonal.
And as far as the interior of the building, you're still planning to move cars around the way it was kind of comparable to the last plan where you had in one area, you were stacking them like, oh, geez, I remember. It was like you had the parking spaces and then they weren't deep or wide enough. Did we ever come up with like sizing? I'm not even sure if that matters to me right now.
We weren't,
Kind of,
I'm sorry, when we decided at the last hearing is that we were not going to include that in the calculation of
Okay.
parking spaces.
That's fine.
It would more be it wouldn't be designated as auto repair, but more as warehousing. And that obviously the consideration you guys could consider to the extent possible that there could be some cars parked in that area. But
Okay.
we weren't going to try to calculate that because the requirements for outdoor parking.
Okay.
We're actually calculating it as auto storage, which does not have a parking
Oh, okay,
requirement.
perfect,
A parking,
thanks.
actually, a parking requirement of 0. So we're not holding that space against them.
Okay.
In terms of their parking, total parking requirement.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, and really the last question I had was comment about the landscaping plan. I guess I kind of have a hard time thinking that they should have one because this is one unit out of the whole property, so I just don't know because ownership of the whole parcel was in question per se, and I'm not sure how fair it is because this is one unit out of the whole thing to require them to have some kind of a landscaping plan. I'm not sure if this is the time to actually introduce that. I'm just not sure about that. So right now I would say I'm okay without a landscaping plan, but if this building were to be taken over and were, was under ownership, which I'm sure I don't think it is right now, then, probably I'd want to see one. So I think that's where I am right now. I don't think I have anything further.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Creech.
I have nothing, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. You stated before that eventually you were hoping to take over the entire building, right?
Correct.
And for the front 3 spaces, you were renting them out or expanding yours? But what's your,
As far as future thought?
Yeah.
There really
On
wasn't.
the front office area?
yeah, you're just renting them out and collecting?
We haven't given much thought to it,
Okay,
really.
no, okay, no
Really
problem.
concerned about the open.
Yeah. Okay. Talked about the variation. I have nothing else.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman. I have nothing.
Commissioner Blanova.
I will be quick. I have nothing. Thank you.
Great. I actually don't have anything. The hours of operation, again, I know is probably somewhere just for public knowledge. What are the hours of operation for
8
this?
to 6, Monday through Friday.
8 to 6, Monday through Friday. You're not open on the weekends?
We are not.
Okay. So we have a parking variation of 32. All right.
Chairperson Ravato, may
Yes.
I interject? I wanted to get some clarification because as Commissioner Powers mentioned, they have indicated
Thank you.
parallel parking on the outside. The staff report with the fire and engineering does not recommend the parallel parking on the outside. This count for staff did not include them as based on that, but the commission needs to determine whether they would allow the parallel parking on the outside or not, because that would alter the variation and the floor plan, the site plan. So that'd be the only thing I'd ask the commissioners to weigh in on.
So so we have this up here. We have here the site plan. So it's the two on, it's the two.
There's 4 actually shown on the site plan. There's 2 proposed up here. And then there's 2, they're calling them existing down here. We have no proof that they're existing.
Ron, I believe, had gone and we kind of touched on it, that there's,
Well, although there appear to be existing, there is some yellow striping on the
Okay.
ground, but it's not exactly clear where they are. I also went through the GIS files for the village, going back to 98, and there's 10 years that there's aerial images, and there's really no clear indication
Right.
of any parking spots.
Right.
There are also 2 exit doors in that area, and the way they are located, I believe one of the exhibits shows the picture, They probably would not be able to be stacked the way they are, but they would have to be separated because of where the doors are. But they may, depending on what the size is, they may be acceptable.
Ron, is that the two that designate 25 and 26?
Yes.
At
Yes,
the front of the building,
the
yeah.
front of the building.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so those, there are exit doors in front of those?
Yes.
Yes.
I apologize. I had placed a photograph in your packet.
Yeah, it's in the
You
packet,
do
Jen.
have it, but I don't have it with me
Page 69.
for the display on the overhead right now. But all the way down at the other end of this
Got it.
photo, there is, there are two exiting doors shown in the location of those two parallel spots.
That is north of the 40 feet, though, I believe, correct? The doors are north of the 40 feet, so it would not interfere with the two parking spaces?
No, number 25 and number 26.
Yeah, at the bottom, at the south.
When you look at those are at the one photograph that's in the packet.
They're right in front.
And there would be a door between 25 and 26, and then there would be a door just adjacent to the brick building. So there would be a space between those two parking spots.
I don't know why that went like this. On one door.
So,
It has to be an exit door for the front office.
It looks like there's enough space if they just leave a space between those
Right,
two
they
spots.
would not be next to each other. There
Right.
would be a 20-foot or whatever the dimension is, space between the two
There's still
parking
6
spots.
feet that we can come off of that further out
so
before
we
the
can,
drive.
we can add a condition that indicates that the two parking spaces designated as 25 and 26 cannot be built in front of the two exit doors. And if they don't fit, then we don't allow it. That they must fit in, one in between the exit door and one in front of the door facing south, going south.
I think the original question was about the other ones, though.
Well, I'm getting to those.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting to those too.
They're both of them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then the proposed parking, I think they read 1 and 2 on this,
Yes.
Yeah.
1 and 2. Is that in front of any overhead? I mean, we
No.
have this spot here.
No, that's between, to
It's
the
in
south
this
of
area.
that small door and to the north of that small door.
Ron, any comment about those?
With two parking spots, because I was out there again today looking at it, it would appear that those two spots would fit between the doors and the utilities and the garage doors in that space. Because if you look at the two doors to the left that you can see when you're looking at the picture, to the right of the second door is a utility electrical panel, meter panel. And then there's nothing, and then just before the overhead doors to the right, there's a gas meter and then the man door exit. So it would be tight, but it's typical or not uncommon for a building of that point, and it would be close enough.
Comments from the Plan Commission?
Does that gas meter have bollards protecting it?
It does not currently, but it will when they get their building permit.
Okay.
Can the car hit that meter?
Well, there will
That's
be
why there's a
bollards in
bollard.
front of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we would be okay with those too. other comments? So is that on the,
So if you allow the 4 parking stalls on the east side of the building, the parking variation would only be for 28.
only 28? Okay. All right. Then that's what it'll be. 28. Which in my consideration is still too high. And if, setting a precedent if something like that, but I'm only one vote. So, and that is on the variation, correct, not on the special use? Just tell me when you're ready.
Okay, so based on your comments, I have added a condition of approval for the special use, that the proposed parking stalls on the east side of the building shall be removed if they obstruct exiting or utilities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that's excellent.
And then for the variation, I'm noting that the variation is for 28 stalls now, and that now there are 2 conditions. The first one has been carried over from each of the hearings, that the parking variation may be increased by 1 stall in order to meet the fire department fire lane requirements. And 2, the parking variation may be increased if the parking stalls on the east side of the building obstruct exiting or utilities.
Okay, great.
Excuse me, Mrs. Castellari?
Yes.
Would it be the fire lane or the fire department connection?
I thought I read this in your
Where is the
memo.
connection, Ron?
The fire department connection is on the
West side?
front side of the building, the west side, and it's located on the face wall where all of the parking is.
Ah.
John, before I forget anything, Mr. Tack? No? Okay, great, thank you.
So the parking variation may be increased by 1 stall in order to meet the fire department FDC requirements? Is that what you're suggesting?
Reduce so it does, if it blocks the existing building fire department connection, something to that extent.
Where is it?
Is there only one on that side?
Pardon?
Is there only one connection on that side?
Yeah, most buildings, other than very large buildings, only have one
And
FTC.
it's at their end.
It's on that long side of the building in face. Nowadays, it'd probably be facing the street more,
Yeah.
but it's where it is.
How about it may be increased by 1 stall in order to meet the striping requirements for the FDC?
Decreased.
For access to the FTC.
In order to access the FDC?
Meet the access requirements for the FDC.
Yeah, meet the access of the,
Requirements for that.
meet the access requirements for the FTC. So do I hear, are you ready for me to start?
Yes.
So do I hear a motion on the zoning variation to reduce the required parking based upon with the addition of the conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Kalis. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Kalis?
No.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
No.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Chairman Rufato?
No. So that is a 3-3. So this will go before the board. A motion for special use 2018-24B, special use site plan approval with the conditions. Fair motion.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
No.
Commissioner Kalis?
No.
Chairman Rufato?
No. Motion to close.
So moved.
So this will go before, Mallory, what's the right terminology? It goes before with a 3-3. It's just, there was some kind of terminology we used to use, where there's no recommendation, it's no recommendation from the Plan Commission. We're only a recommending board anyway, and with a 3-3, with a tie, it just goes before them. It would go before them irrespective of which direction.
It's either a neutral or technically a negative because you don't have a majority.
Right.
But I'm not exactly
Well, we have a
sure.
majority, so,
No,
no,
we
you're
don't have a
right. We don't have a
majority in
majority,
favor.
so,
I think it does not pass. Is that
Yeah.
how we state?
I
The
think
motion
so.
did not pass.
Yeah.
motion does not.
The motion for approval did not pass.
It did not pass.
Because
They
there's
have
not a
majority
majority.
of the plan commission.
Understood. But it's 3-3, so you have to go, well, you're going before because we're only a recommending board, you're going to go before the village board next. But they have all of our information, so they will make the final decision. Thank you. You'll have something to sign, just a number of forms, and that will show you, if you've heard the other meetings, that will show you what the conditions are that we've added to each one of these. But thank you. Last time I touched it. If you can just stay here. Last time I did that, I screwed it up. You want to reprint those? You can if you want. Pardon? Yeah.
Okay.
You should. This is 24A. She's going to reprint the other one. Yeah, much better. When will they be before the village board?
Most likely November 5th.
Okay, so if you can come up here and sign each one of these right there. I have a whole bunch of A's, but I don't have any B's. Remember, I wanted you to
I
reprint.
thought I did. Reprint the wrong ones.
This is the
Okay.
variation,
Which one do you need?
special use. Yeah, special use.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get rid of those. You get one of those. And if you bear with us, we just need to print the special use. One more time. And then you can keep that one. Great, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Okay, can we take a 3-minute break? Thank you. Approval of minutes, we're going to go individually on these. Approval of minutes, September 13th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary, let's go through these.
Overtaken roll.
Yeah, just take a roll.
All right, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Chairman Raffato?
Yes. Approval of minutes, September 20th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Powers. Mr. Secretary,
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Chairman Raffato?
great, yes. Approval of minutes, October 11th, 2018. Do I hear a motion?
There was a change that I sent to Brooke on this one.
As corrected? Okay, great, thank you.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Blanova. Mr. Secretary,
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Chairman Raffato?
yes. Brooke, other business.
I have two things. First, I wanted to give you an update on a field change that staff has determined is minor enough that can be allowed through the building permit process. This is for the Learning Center, which is in the town center. It was recently approved for a special use for child daycare. They have two different fences that were approved for that project. The one I'm talking about right now is the fence that surrounds the playground on the west side of the building here. It was illustrated in this photograph that was approved. The petitioner has now requested that this design and material be changed to this. It's a composite. It has a cedar texture. It is semi-transparent. I believe it's this white color that we see down here. I just want to give you an update that this change has been made by staff and is approved by staff.
Same height, Brooke?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it going to be the horizontal slats? Or is it going to be like the shadow box like we have by the Burger King?
I do not know. I apologize.
Oh, well, if we could be consistent, it would look nice.
So you're suggesting which?
I guess it would be more the bottom right corner in white where it's kind of like a shadow.
The Millbrook?
Oh, I don't think that's an option. Honestly, I do believe it is this one that is outlined in the red with
Just
the
vertical?
vertical. At first, I was thinking it was the horizontal boards, but do you think it's the horizontal boards as shown in the red box here?
Well, that's vertical.
I believe so.
Yes. Yes, they're vertical. But the Millbrook option is not on the table.
So they wanted to take out the climbability, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is good.
So that's just
That would do it.
an informational piece for you. The second item, if you have no other questions, is I want to give you an update on our Plan Commission schedule. We are canceling the November 1st meeting. As you know, we had 6 meetings in a row lined up back-to-back between October and November. That was just too much, so we are canceling the November 1st meeting. We will hold a special meeting on November 8th instead. It will be a special meeting in that it's not on our regular Plan Commission meeting schedule, but we will have several items for review, and we will treat it like a normal Plan Commission meeting. On November 15th, we are scheduling a workshop with the village board. It will be regarding the station area plan.
Is that a village meeting or a plan commission meeting, or does it really matter?
I think it will be a joint meeting, but the details of the location and all that have not yet been determined.
Okay.
And then I just also wanted to remind you of the December meeting schedule, 2 meetings, one for December 6th and one for December 20th.
Does anybody have any issues with these? Because as we all well know, we have 6 here, so we want to make sure that...
It looks like I'll be out of town for the 6th, the 12/6.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? And please, if you find out that you cannot attend a meeting in advance, please send an email to me and Brooke and Steve so we all know going forward, because if these are public hearings, we want to inform everybody that, you know, if we don't have a quorum, so, okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Blanova?
I have nothing, sir.
Commissioner Powers?
The last petition we had with zoning, I kind of understand how we came up with a variation of 28, but for the way that thing was used, I don't know, for me, I just think there's a disconnect. I'm not sure, maybe we need to look at something, maybe I'm just crazy, but somehow to come up with a variation of 28 with that type of use, and I really think that they are trying to use that piece of property pretty creatively. To have a variation of 28, I just don't know how we came up with that, and somehow I think there's a disconnect there.
Well, the biggest thing is the fact that there's 3 other tenants that you have to reserve parking for.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but still, I don't believe that the petitioner is going to potentially need all that parking because he's doing a lot in the inside with storage. Now, you know, that may be an issue, that may be not. Somehow, I just, I think a 28, even though there be other tenants, I don't know, he's probably got, I don't know, to 60% of that tenant space, and to come up with that variation, I kind of get it, but for the way he's using it, I'm not just sure.
The variance is based on square footage, not what he's going to use it as, so it doesn't matter how he's going to use it or what he needs, based on square footage, yeah? So it's just a literal calculation.
Yeah, I just think there's an issue with it, that's all.
Why, but why is it, I mean, we have code
Yeah, I know.
that they have to, that we can't, my concern in voting no here is that we set a very, I think, in our case, a bad precedent going forward for any type of use that wants to come in and say, well, you gave this use a 28 parking variation, and then we're stuck. And that will come back, that could come back and bite us in the future, where we don't want it, where we don't want it. And that's the reason why I voted no for this. Yeah, they're creative, but we have ordinances, we have code that they need to adhere to. And a variation of 28, now granted, we're just a recommending board here, but a variation of even 28 is going to be, I think, is going to be an issue. And I personally, and please weigh in here, I don't think there's a disconnect here. We can't make exceptions for everything that comes in. I truly don't see a disconnect here. We have codes that, now if we want to change the code somehow, then we change the code. But in this particular instance, I don't see a disconnect whatsoever.
Well, I think all the indoor storage that he had should be factored in somehow.
But it's outdoor parking that we're talking about.
Right.
It's outdoor parking that we're talking about.
Right, I mean, I guess it's fine, because the commissioners that voted in favor of it thought that the variation, they met the standards because even though it's a high number, took into account the indoor storage and felt it might meet the needs and wouldn't create the parking demand of the variation, and the commissioners that voted no didn't feel that. So, I mean, it's tied to the standards, it's tied to what you guys feel, if they've met the standards or not. it was 28, but there was that unique component. So
And they testified they get 8 to 10 cars a day.
Yeah, it's like saying that we're only going to have 150 trucks. And we know in some cases that that's not
Again,
going to be.
upholding the code has nothing to do with what they're actually doing with the cars, so
Well,
that's,
but we have to have some type of
Yeah.
baseline around that. So, but thank you for your input. Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
I'm
Commissioner
just one person here.
Yep. Commissioner Kalis.
nothing tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Creech.
Nothing tonight, thank you, sir.
So I've received a number of inquiries about code enforcement. And actually, I think I talked about it the last time, where we, and specifically Dundee dogs. We've talked about that for a number of times, and we've had, and talking to commissioners, you know, we've talked about the excess of signs, and they're still there. So, I mean, I think we all have a concern about enforcement and what is being done in this area of enforcement. You know, from an appearance standpoint, it doesn't look like anything's being done, but I know that's probably not true from the standpoint of what community development does. So any comments, Steve, Brooke?
Yeah, thanks for the, for the comment and the concern. As it relates to property maintenance, a lot of the way the staff's approach is to try to, work towards voluntary compliance. So receiving the complaint and then working with the owner, the operator, whatever it may be, to again, try to work out a voluntary form of compliance and not have to go through ticket issuance and adjudication, everything else. There are times, and that's kind of the approach, is again, to work with them to achieve compliance first, and then before we do any fines. There are situations and there are properties and operators out there that are repeat offenders, unfortunately. Again, the approach is to continue to work with them, to let them understand the process, the rules and the regulations of the code, and just there's some of the scenarios out there is that operators will continue to receive fines and go through the whole process. And as much as we try, there are just, at the end of the day, some people out there that continue to just, buck the system, basically.
You said buck, right?
Buck, yes.
Okay, good.
Buck the system, yes, of course. And so with that, it makes it a challenge to try to, again, achieve compliance. From the outward appearance, it looked like it does appear that nothing is being done, but in fact, there is a lot of behind-the-scenes work that staff is doing to try to, again, achieve compliance, but there's just some frustrating situations where we have to give them the necessary time to achieve that compliance. They have the right to go through an appeal process, the adjudication process, and again, that all takes time. And as that clock is ticking, again, it may appear that nothing's going on, but.
So what is
What's the necessary time?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so for instance, we, years ago, we would, when we were probably a little bit smaller as far as what was the activities going on here, we would come to a meeting like this and bring it up to whoever staff was. But the recommendation has been, call the code enforcement hotline. So what happens when a call is made and somebody calls it? If it's not us, it's somebody else. Mm-hmm. What are the steps that occur in that?
Sure. Once a complaint is received, it is then inspected to see if there is in fact a violation. There are times where it may appear that there is such, but everything's in compliance. If the inspector goes out and does observe a violation, then they will contact the again, the owner, operator, whoever that may be, to let them aware of the violation, what is wrong, and work out, give them a timeframe for compliance.
What's the timeframe?
It varies depending on the violation. If it's something that can be easily done within a week, then the inspector may go out and say, I'll be back. If this is, for example, something's on Monday, they may come back and say, I'll be back on Friday to see if it's corrected, or they may give them through the weekend. For example, if it's a homeowner, understanding that they may have, a job that they're attending to, so they, may only have the weekend to attend to that issue. So it varies. It may be a bigger violation that may require some larger work, and they may give them a little bit more time to resolve that. Whatever that may be, to, again, try to work through that voluntary compliance, return back, and if the violation hasn't been corrected, then they issue within the citation, a formal citation to then go through that fine process.
And that process would be a citation to appear in adjudication, which is usually at least 2 to 3 weeks out, because you have to give them sufficient notice of the adjudication date, and that usually, I think, is 2 weeks. So that's another time, then they come and we see if they show up, or maybe get additional time to come to compliance. And then if they're not, it gets closed out with a fine. And then if they're still not coming into compliance and they don't appeal that decision, in order to enforce it, we'd have to go to circuit court, which is additional cost for the village, and that won't even get heard for at least 35 to 60 days. Assuming that they don't come into all the normal adjudication stuff, and the village makes a decision to go to circuit court and not just try to get them to come through with adjudication. It all depends on the property owner and the violation.
The issue with the excessive signs at Dundee Dogs could be resolved in about a half an hour. Somebody with a ladder can take those signs down, fold the signs up that aren't supposed to be out on the street, and it would be done. But it's been months. And I've called the compliance hotline, and I see nothing happening. I mean, they've got them up on the posts in front of Granny's. They've got one on the post down by the paint store. It's just, it seems to be a simple fix.
Well, we can't go and take them down.
No.
We can't. So it's got to work through the process. And maybe, and we don't know the history of that. I guess if you've seen something like that and we have a general idea of what the timeframes are, please email Brooke and Steve and ask them for a status. They can't, the village can't reply back. Well, one, the anonymous hotline is anonymous, unless you're giving the name. So they can't reply back to those, but if you know that you've called and it's been sufficient enough time, email Brooke and Steve and ask them for a status, and we can go from there. But one of the things that I want to make clear to the Plant Commission is that there's not inactivity. It's just that they go through these processes because they're, as Mallory alluded to, there is a cost involved in taking this further through going to court for these that we want, as a village, want to try to avoid. We want to try to be business friendly, but if somebody is abusing that, then my guess is that they're going to move forward on it. So, that helps me as far as the process, because sometimes I get frustrated. And now that I drive by Dundee Dogs, I see them all the time. And as Commissioner Johnson said, it's easy. You know, we think it's easy.
They probably put them up in an hour. They could take them down in less time.
And they somehow seem to say, the heck with you guys, we're not going to comply. And that, I think, is the frustrating part. And that's...
It's unfair to the other restaurants, it's setting a precedent.
Well, we're doing a lot of that today, so, but that's, so we just need to stay diligent on that, and as we see these things, report them, and after elapsed time, you haven't seen any activity, then let's go. I called in one, and I never got it, well, I didn't give my name. Actually, I probably did. And in a couple of weeks, it was resolved. So maybe they're an issue, so. Anything else, Steve?
I did have one other item. I just wanted to let the Plan Commission know that we have been in receipt of a concept review request for a proposed plan unit development, which will go forward to the November 5th Village Board, in case the Plan Commission is interested in watching that meeting. The property in question is at the northeast corner of Dundee and Northgate Parkway. So that'll go to the board first before it comes to Plan Commission for the follow-up concept review.
And that's preliminary PUD, right? I mean, that's going through a PUD process.
Correct, it is a PUD and it's just beginning the concept review phase. And again, that'll be on November 5th, the November 5th meeting.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Steve. Ron, anything? No, sir. Mallory, nothing? November 8th is our next meeting. I return from my vacation on that day. I'm going to try to get here, but in lieu of that, Commissioner Johnson will be, irrespective of whether I join or not, Commissioner Johnson will be the chairman that night. Can we do that, even if I'm here?
If you arrive late, we can continue. If you're here, then you should probably.
Okay.
If you're here before the meeting, but if you arrive late, then we would just have him run the meeting.
But you may not be well prepared for it.
Right. Well, I've got a gavel though.
Okay.
That's all I need.
Do you have a gavel?
I do.
Commissioner Johnson?
I do.
Okay, great.
It's like this.
Then you're hired.
No, I got one now.
Okay. Anything else, anyone?
I got a bunch of heads.
Do I hear a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Motion by Commissioner Kalis, second by Commissioner Powers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.